the ego is something to protect. That your personality, who you are, is something to protect, not diminish. People are searching for truth, but they're really searching for truth not. They are, in essence, looking for comfort in their decision, because the truth makes it very uncomfortable of their decisions that has been made at that time due to all the lies.
Is it possible to fully wipe our slate clean of all limitations that we've placed on ourselves in this lifetime?
So there are limitations, while at the same time you could understand that you as a soul is limitless. When you find it, no matter what it is, you should come to the point, and you could say that is the one core of everything.
How do we constitute what is enough for every individual?
The number one way to do it is this, and you have to actually be honest. For you yourself to do this, Emilio, and everybody else, they have to be honest with themselves. It doesn't work any other way. If you lie to yourself, then you're just playing with yourself.
Darius J. Wright, welcome back on Just Tap In, brother. What are you most excited about right now globally and in your life?
Globally, things are going to happen the way they're going to happen. So it doesn't really matter to me anymore where the direction goes there. The only thing that matters to me is the direction of the individual soul, where they're leading themselves. And is that leading themselves to a global waiting, or an individual self-reflection and finding that truth to do something here right now? So I don't really look at that stuff anymore. There's a lot of things that I've looked at for the global thing of certain event stuff, but the most important thing is what are people doing now individually? I could only tell you that I'm excited about the things that I've accessed, done, and also spreading so far, but that's about the only thing at this moment. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And I love that you're focusing so much on the individual's path and that path of sovereignty and mastery. As people progress with your work and what you call the great work, what do you feel are some common misunderstandings about this path? As people get deeper and more advanced into this work, what are some common misunderstandings that you feel people come up against?
Misunderstandings? I don't know, actually. In terms of what? Clarify the question a bit more for me, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I love that you were saying before that, there's been this really intelligent tactic put into place by what you call the New Age propaganda that says,
yes,
there are many different truths, and essentially those are perceptual truths of, every individual's experience. But there are some core truths that you have discovered, realized, and lived within yourself that maybe, when people are going off and maybe distracting themselves into these different truths, how do we pull back into those core truths?
Yeah. Okay. I got you, man. I got you. So currently right now, we have a lot of people that are basing certain things in their life based on perception. You could say perception is true, and that is the truth, but there is a number one truth to things. And okay, how many interviews have you done so far on your show? How many people have you spoken to?
I think about 200 now.
Okay, so you will find, and you'll find many different perceptions within there, but you should find something that is constant, because there's a truth, a number one truth that sets people free. It's not this or that, or trillions of truths, and that and for that and that infinitum. It's of one. And that one thing is the thing that changes the soul because it remembers again that one thing. So there's many different perceptions out there. The perception of, I've talked to you about this before. Right here, right now, people that listen to this, if you follow it to the very end, wherever this goes, your perception right now holds a certain truth within it. It's called perceptional truth. At the end of this interview, when you're done listening, that perception would have changed. Whether it's 50%, 1%, doesn't matter, but it would have changed slightly. And therefore your perception would have changed, therefore your truth would have changed as well. But the truth of things, that number one truth doesn't change. That's a constant, that's a foundation. Do you see where I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that at the core, what I do, that's what I'm trying to find. That's the goal, is that core of all things. Because the moment you find that core of all things, then no matter what question that you have, if you understand the foundation, all of those questions just automatically make sense, or do not make sense in terms of you could see the lie. And it breaks down things. So yeah, I would say many people are stuck in perceptional truth and not really striving for that foundation. Yeah. You'll find, for instance, too, a lot of people in certain movements, certain communities will end up, it's almost like this is an analogy. It's almost like they watch 1,000 different lessons of how to become a mechanic, but yet don't understand how to do something to the engine. Mm-hmm. So, I think most people are just addicted right now to feel. People are searching for, when they watch things anymore. I've noticed this. People are searching for. They say they're searching for truth of things, but I've come to realize that it's actually, majority of people are not. They're searching for comfort in their own belief of. In this comfort and belief of, they say that is searching for that, but it's actually not, because once you realize the truth, sometimes it's the most uncomfortable thing. You see? So, yeah. Like, for instance, the truth of the pandemic, and I won't go into certain things for your channel, but the truth of the pandemic. People are searching for truth, but they're really searching for truth not. They are, in essence, looking for comfort in their decision, because the truth makes it very uncomfortable of their decisions that has been made at that time due to all the lies. But when you find it, in that, when you find it, no matter what it is, you should come to the point of love. The all unconditional love. And you could say that is the one core of everything. But anyways, that's going a little bit off topic, but all right.
And this path of individual sovereignty, a lot of it is about breaking those addictions that we have to the layers on top of that core truth, which you just mentioned is love. So what have been some steps in your journey that you found that break the chains of the addictions that people have around these things that essentially distract them from reaching those deeper layers within themselves?
Okay. You want to learn how to do it right now?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the number one way to do it is this, and you have to actually be honest. For you yourself to do this, Emilio, and everybody else, they have to be honest with themselves. It doesn't work any other way. If you lie to yourself, then you're just playing with yourself. But the number one way to find out that love, that core of things, and break down everything else, is I want you to imagine for a moment And you have to really step into this. Imagine for a moment that when you're searching for a truth of all things to make sense of everything, and you go back to the far reaches of from the very beginning of all things, and when you're there, all you find is a number one truth that reflects to you that nothing matters. And once you're there and that reflection's there, that nothing matters, no mission, no pursuit, nothing that you do, good, evil, in love, or fear, none of it matters. And once you're even on the other side, an all-powerful being that can manifest with its will and its spoken word, nothing that you do matters and will never matter. And once you're in that state, and only in that state, who and what would you do? What's the first thing that you would want to do when you realize that nothing matters? What's the first thought that you will have? What's the first thing that you will create? What's the first thing you want to experience there? And that first thought, that first thing, once you're there, you realize that nothing matters, good, evil, love, or anything. And then you end up saying, I would do this, then you have found your true authentic self. And when you find your true authentic self, your self-expression, that your true authentic self is the ultimate form of love, then you have found the true, you could say you have found yourself, love. And if you are unhappy with yourself for the things that you would do, then this is the unforgivable sin, the sin that you cannot forgive yourself for. Because if you're unhappy with what you do in that state, then that's the thing you cannot escape yourself. Does that make sense?
A lot. Yeah, that clicked for sure. And I've also heard you mention that when the soul is not ready to see or hear that truth, that deeper layer, the core, then the suffering and the pain actually gets louder and increases. Why is that?
Because the thing is, right now, once you do that exercise, right now, people, and including myself in the past, the growing up, stuff like that, you could say it's riddled with like pretending, acting, having false masks on, just constantly pretend. That's what people are doing. They're pretending, not able to just step back into, if nothing matters, what would I do then? And some people may find that they are very unhappy with that. They're very unhappy with that. And this is precisely why love, if you step out of love here and if you step out of love there, it is the suffering. All things out of love is suffering and pain. Fear is the opposite of love. So you would have to come into a state where you go back into love, because the true essence of love is where no pain will ever exist. Ever. So I know that probably doesn't answer the question directly, but hopefully it does.
Yeah. And what came up for me there when you talked about accessing love, a lot of your work is around reaching those out-of-body states through slowing down the electromagnetic field of the heart. So would we say that the heart is the way to access that frequency of love, or are there other, maybe grander ways that we don't even know about to access that field?
Okay, so to access love, what would you say love is for you, Emilio? What is love?
For me, love is the energy that binds everything in all creation.
Okay, would you give it any other definition of what it does?
It it elicits this unconditional receptivity of the universe and what we came here to experience, because through love we're able to create worlds, and we're able to find, even in the human experience, we're able to have the most ecstatic, pleasurable awe states that we can access through that. So yeah, it's hard to put it into words, but it's a feeling for sure for me.
Okay. So in order to truly find love at its purest form, you will find, to define it, then that's not love. Because love in and of itself, unconditional love, you can't have unconditional love with a judgment. So what is a judgment? A judgment is a confinement. So anything that says love, for instance, the moment you start to confine it or put judgment on it, then that's not it. So to truly find it, you would have to find out what love is not. So people now have placed a definition on love. They try to place a definition on it, and that therefore that has confined it into a prism of light, which is a prison. All creation is of prisms of light, which is a prison in a sense. But you would have to identify what love is not. So love is not fear. Love is not hate. Love is not judgment. Love is not pain. The list goes on. So love is everything other than the suffering of, and it's only the unconditional acceptance of all things. That is the true essence of love, acceptance. If I were to define it or confine it into one thing, even though I said you can't necessarily confine it, it would just be acceptance of. That is love. And even your authentic self, acceptance of, because what puts you into the hell experience? It's because it's lack of acceptance of. What puts people into hell now, inside of themselves or hiding from themselves? It's lack of acceptance of themselves. So love would be just acceptance of all things, understanding that. And once you go to that beginning, or try to search for just the essence of it, you'll find that love isn't even of a word. It's only of a feeling, of just acceptance. And that's basically it, man. Yeah.
Is the only way to access our authentic selves, as you said, to leave, or in a way exit the construct and then see it from another perspective? Or go ahead.
No. So I understand you were talking about the out of body, but I'm trying to bring things where people could see it now without going out of body. But you don't need to go out of body to see that. No. Going out of body allows you to feel it more and see it more, like near-death experience people see that, and then it changes them forever. But you can identify it here and feel it here, because you are here right now, and it just takes a reminder of. That's it. Because once you cross over to the other side, you're just getting reminded of things, and then when you come back, that reminder you apply it here to the best of your ability, in that frequency of love and integrity and authenticity of self. And so I've been very, okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, keep riffing.
Yeah, no, all good. You good? Yeah. No.
Along those lines, and this is very connected to what we're talking to, is why do you feel there are certain teachings, especially in the New Age space, that tell us to dissolve our egos?
Well, the ego isn't something to dissolve. So it's not something to dissolve. Your ego is not something to dissolve. Replace the word ego with soul experiences. So In a past life, you had a different personality. And that personality you would say is your ego, just based off the experience that you had in that life. That's your ego. So your ego are just different personalities, different experiences that your soul has had throughout the eternity of itself. And so to get rid of your ego is to essentially erase part of that experience in the past. You could, and when people say get rid of your ego, that's a spiritual warfare to erase your soul history, your records, the experience that made you you here right now. So the ego, who you are now, me, Darius, Emilio, is just the accumulation of all the past experiences from the other side, everything that you've ever experienced here right now, forgetfulness, and this experience right here, the personality that you have. And it's not to get, you don't get rid of this. Instead, you add to it. You understand it more. You understand yourself more. Because your ego is your personality. Once you leave the body, your personality doesn't just vanish. And this is a misconception too. People think that the personality changes. The moment that you leave and exit the body, the moment that people have a near-death experience, they think the same way. They're the same person. The personality, the ego of what they had is still there. You could say more of the control of things dissolves because they understand love. But the personality, the ego is there. And to get rid of that is a great misconception. It's the accumulation of you through all of creation. All of your existence. That's what it is. It's like me saying to you, get rid of, I don't like the way that Emilio, you act or express yourself. Get rid of that. Get rid of that part of you. Erase it. Makes me uncomfortable. Then you would have to go into your soul and erase that experience, which then would be in essence erasing part of you. How does that feel right? How is that right? That's not right. Not at all.
It's also extremely deflating because, when we begin this journey of truly accepting ourselves, loving ourselves, and then we get told, hey, when you pass on to the other side, that part of you, that version of you, that personality that you created, that was just an illusion. So then I'm like, why would I spend all this time trying to accept myself,
Exactly. It's because it's not an illusion. It comes from a misunderstanding that you're going to lose yourself. Get rid of your ego, because once you leave here, you're going to lose yourself. You never lose yourself. Ever. Even when you're back to the source of all things, you never lose yourself. It is impossible to lose yourself. You'll never lose your personality. You'll never lose you, who you are here right now. Everything that you are will never be lost. It all comes with you. The ego is something to protect. That your personality, who you are, is something to protect, not diminish. The things to help, the things to diminish, or you could say help, is to relieve suffering and pain by making people understand love, the pure state of it. Because some people say that they're in love of, but yet they feel pain of. But pain is the opposite of love. That's what love is not. And they feel pain because they have a condition of what something else should be, or an expectation of for themselves. Expectation is also what love is not. You getting this?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there other ways that love gets distorted?
Well, the number one way that love gets distorted is purely due to judgment and expectation of. In order to operate at the highest form of creation, the spark of creation itself is, if the moment you step into judgment and expectation of, then that's the moment you step in control of. Judgment and expectation is control. Right now, Emilio, I if I were to say, I expect you to speak to me a certain way, I expect you to do this, that's me trying to control you. You see? So, okay.
Yeah. And it hits right to the core, because we do this all the time in our relationships. We expect our partner to be a certain way, because that would then fulfill an aspect of ourselves. And, getting down to that core is full acceptance of the other, but we can only do that with full acceptance of ourselves first. So
exactly.
It's a journey.
100%. It's a very, very direct path, but 100%. Because the moment you expect even your partner to do something in a certain way, then that's an expectation. That's what love is not. Let's pretend for a moment that let's go to religious biblically. Let's go into, there's a God that loves all of everything, you and everybody. Do you think for a moment, when you cross over, if that one all-powerful God would sit there and condemn you or judge you and basically hate you for you? It would not do that. Instead, it would see you, accept you, and just show you love. That's all it would do. All right.
When we're shown full love, it's what sets us free, which is what this conversation is all about right now, that we're talking about that soul liberation. And another thing that you were saying is that we are here to add on to our soul's experience. But I wanted to talk about the memory wipe process that we go through, or the forgetting process of why does the soul choose or willingly choose to go through that memory wipe, or does it? And in what ways can we begin to lift that veil so that we can remember the fullness of the past soul experience and then add on to it from there?
Okay, so that goes into what I told you before. Based off what I've seen, that this place was designed to forget, a temporarily forgetful process. Now, I won't go into all the logistics of that, of how that works, water and stuff like that, but that's what I was showing. But you understand that even when you're here and you temporarily forget, that's not a permanent thing, because you can remember here. So once you come down, you're coming down from a very, very high state of frequency, your station. And this is, let's just say that's the veil down here. So as you pass through, physical body's down here, you're here. So every time you try to jump up, you see, but you'll never truly pass into the memory of all things again, unless you step back into the core and essence of all things, which is love again. Or that statement that I said before to you. What if you found the truth of all things and you realize that nothing matters? And then that jump starts you and puts you back into a state of remembering yourself again. And the moment you put yourself back into that high state of the love with no expectations, the pure essence of it, then memories have no choice but to flood back within you. Your soul, remembrance of you. Because right then and there, just doing that, when you did that, didn't you remember a part of yourself? And I know that may sound silly or whatever, but did you not remember something? Yeah, did something not spark feeling within you? Feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a feeling.
Yeah. And that's what all experiences are, even when you go back into the past of things. So when you try to go back into a past memory right now, or try to access something that happened in your life, do you think of it? You could say, yes, you're thinking of it, but what's the overriding thing that happens when you try to go back into a memory? Let's just say your first love of your life. It's not necessarily a thinking process. You feel back into that past. And because you feel back into it, that memory starts to flood back within you. So it's the feeling of that past, which then brings the memory to you. So the same thing applies even with your past experiences. You feel back into that. And how do you feel back into that? The highest state of love will help assist with that. And then the memories just start to flood within you.
Yeah. In that example, I love that you brought that up, because if I was trying to go back into a past memory and I would have to feel into it, there's a big part of me that would also need to call upon my imagination faculties to be able to go back in there and extract that feeling and really go deeper into that process. So how do you see imagination in all of this work that you've been, putting together of going out of the body, remembering ourselves? Where does imagination fall into there?
So just the definition of imagination, where does it apply? Yeah. Like
more so the role of imagination when it comes to having these incredible mystical experiences.
Yeah. So it's imagination is just basically your thought. So let's just go back. You're outside of this construct completely. You're back to the creation of all things again. You as a soul is fully standing. You want to manifest something based off what your ultimate desire, pleasure of experience and love. And you want to create that to experience that on the other side. Well, you have to think of it, which is imagine it first in your mind or in your soul, to even birth that light into creation to experience it. So imagination is just basically your power as well to manifest. I mean, yeah. That's the shortest thing I could give you. I don't feel like there's any need to elaborate on it any more than that.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay.
For sure. There's been some recent revelations coming through you about something that you call or is known as the water of life. I would love to know if we can explore that for a few minutes, or what that is.
So where did you find that?
On your website.
Okay. Well, I don't want to share that just yet.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
We'll leave it for another time.
Okay.
I want to bring also resurfacing what we were talking about before of the New Age propaganda. How are you able to see it for what it was? And what are some of the things that you realized about it that are misleading people in some ways? Hello, beautiful family. Quick one today. I just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you that have subscribed to this channel. Your subscription means more than you know. Even though it's free, what you're doing is you're empowering a whole channel to be able to do this every single day and continue showing up in the way that we can with all of our resources on hand. Thank you for contributing to the growth of this channel, for sharing it with the people that you love, for creating a conscious movement of individuals that are seeking the sovereignty and the divinity of their soul. This is why we're here. And if you haven't already and you're enjoying this content, I invite you now to look below on that little button that says subscribe and welcome you properly to this community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are and being pure love and radiating that with everyone that you see. Back to the episode.
All right. So if you right now, Emilio, I know this is an interview, but right now, if you leave this and if I have not given you something that actually helps you here right now like that, or something that just helps you, not just words that are being used that are basically like, okay, yeah, that was great, but I can't apply that, then that's one of them. And if I have done that so far in this interview and someone can't walk away with something, then I've already done a misservice. I've already lost the mark there. So even with the out of body stuff, I don't just say to you, this is this and that is that. It's like, well, you could do it too. Here's the tools to do it. So That's one of them. The other one is too much pretending and acting of. In order to be awake and aware, you don't need, not at all, to pretend to be spiritual. You're already spiritual. You already have a soul. That's what you are. You don't need to pretend to be a form of or act to be something of when you are literally that in this physical body now. And this is where we went back to the ego thing. It's get rid of that, because the only way to truly be this, you have to be this, or these boxes of limitations that have been placed on what they call enlightenment is. So, does that clear it up, or do you want me to go deeper?
Well, we can go deeper for sure. And I just wanted to bring up a little bit of my personal experience when I started getting into this work and asking deeper questions about myself. A lot of it was, the same way many people go, is the internet. What is a spiritual awakening? What is this? What is that? And one of the first words that came through that I saw was lightworkers. And I identified with that phrase for so long. I was like, I am a lightworker. And, we'll get deeper into this, but you've said that you don't say that you work for neither the light nor the dark. So I would love to go deeper into that concept of, working for this, working for that, why has that in a way brought us down a different path?
Well, that statement, I don't work for the lighter, nor do I work for the dark, because they both, when you look into the core of it, they both had judgments on one another, and therefore judgments, unconditional love, you can't have unconditional love with a judgment. So when you look at the light and you look at the dark, they both have judgments on one another, which makes them no different. And you could say all through this, I've been, what is New Age? It's a judgment. I'm judging people of blah, 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 blah. But that's the reason why I stated that, is because once you go back into the purest state of love, you'll find it has no judgments on neither. And like I said, that's something that's even hard for me to really see fully and completely. And now it's just more, through seeing it, understanding it more. The only definition that I could give you, or the only example, not definition, the only example I could give you of that is this. You're a father, you have a child, you have two children. This is, I've said this many times, but it puts things into context of understanding. You're a father, you're a mother, you have two children. One, I'll just go the extreme, because people like to go the extreme with this, and I'll go the extreme the other way. One of them is a murderer. I'll just go the far extreme with this. The other one is ultimate expression of love at the highest form. Mother and father will not lose their love for either. Even it doesn't matter if that child goes down the far extreme of the most hateful and evil things, the parent doesn't lose the love for that child. And so replace the mother and the father with the source, and the mother or the father of the source of all things, and you are the children of. So no matter what you do, you are always still loved. Does that make sense?
For sure. And I love that example, because, and this is just coming through for me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. A mother and a father are probably one of the only people in the planet that saw you in your purest, most innocent light and form, and everything that came with that as a baby, as children. So what does innocence have to do with letting go of judgment? Because you're seeing something as its pure innocence.
Well, what do children do? They're in the state that nothing matters. And because they're in the state of nothing matters, they're in their true authentic self. They're expressing themselves authentically. They don't care. They have no mask. They're not pretending. They can run around naked. They have no perception of someone's going to judge me for this or condemn me for this. They are 100% free because they're 100% themselves. And what you're tapping into is the purity of essence of that which we are on the other side. And once you see that, it's a reminder like, wow, they are 100% free. They're themselves. And you capture that essence right there in a child, and you could see it. And then you could also see all the don't do this, don't do that, blah, 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 and then all the limitations placed on it as it grows up. So yeah, that's what's being captured there, is that.
Is it possible to fully wipe our slate clean of all limitations that we've placed on ourselves in this lifetime?
All limitations. So in order for me to say yes on that, typically I would have to be a demonstrator of that. And I would say I'm not a demonstrator of that, of like no limitations placed on us here. Because if I wasn't, I would be doing so much more that I know that I can be doing. But in essence, so when you look at no limitations placed on you, that would be no limitations. So think about when you're in your soul, you have no limitations to do, manifest of that which your soul wills. So here right now, I want you to think of putting an apple in your hand or something and manifesting that like that. If you can't do that, then you have a limitation here placed on you. So that's what I'm saying. So there are limitations, while at the same time you could understand that you as a soul is limitless. Now, with also saying that, because I'm not I can't demonstrate that as if I could demonstrate the out of body. Out of body is like I could just do that, demonstrate it to you very easily. People have already done it with all the testimonies. But with even saying the manifestation of, let me give you more of a science behind how that's done. Things that I've been recently trying to target and figure out how to do certain things within the body. Like I've been working with telepathy lately. You'll find that I've been doing that in upcoming, or I've done that in workshops, teachings, and stuff like that. It's been very, very successful so far. But let's just say to manifest something from, let's just say, an apple in the hand, this is how theoretically and scientifically it would actually happen if one were able to do this. Right now, when you think of something, if you have successfully come out of your body, you know that your thought forms are physical within your field. Because the moment you come out, you can think of something and then it's physically there because you're accessing more of that light spectrum. You're accessing more of the field of all things. Physical body, some, not all, only has access to 0.something% of the light spectrum. But some people have more access to it, and they could have more access to it physically. This is where you get people that could see things that other people can't. But if the thought form, when you have a thought, if it is physical, a physical thought form in your field that you cannot physically perceive, but you could see it out of your body, in essence, what you would do is you would think of an apple in your hand. That thought form's already projected there. It's already there. The apple's already there. And if someone were out of their body, they would actually be able to see my thought form of that apple. And this is stuff that I've talked about already to you before in other interviews. That the moment, I gave you the example of me going over to my friend's house out of my body, seeing his thought form that he never told anybody. He wanted to do a celebration. I was able to touch it, feel it, taste everything, his whole feeling of his thoughts. So if I'm thinking of an apple in my hand, it's already there in another state of the light spectrum. And if one would be able to take that light spectrum and lower the frequency of, you would see something manifest right there. So in theory and in science, that's how it would be done physically. And then if one would be able to do that, you would say then you are tapping into, at that point you would be tapping into the zero limitations here physically. Even right now, for instance, I've been looking at and trying to target certain things, understanding certain things. Okay, so if we are an electromagnetic being, this body, an acoustic machine, what prevents things from, let's just say, me putting out my hand here and moving this like that? So you because this is of an electromagnetic field. My hand, my body is of an electromagnetic field. So even telekinesis is also done by increasing the electromagnetic field of your physical body to touch something else and move it like so. Right now, levitation. Did you know right now you're already levitating? You didn't even know it.
Yeah, I'm not sitting down in a chair. I've just been.
No. Even you sitting. So even when your feet are on the floor, you are actually levitating, because the electromagnetic field and the materials within the floor in your body creates a repulsion effect. So when we even touch something, we're really never touching it truly.
Yeah. Atoms never rub up against each other. There's always space between.
Yeah. So then even levitation is born through increasing your electromagnetic field to such a state where just that repulsion effect goes from this to this. Now, through targeting these things and seeing certain things, you could say I'm getting an understanding, but I'm not the living example of that, because otherwise I would be doing that. So I know this is a long form of answering your question, but it needs to be clearly understood, because if I just say yes, then people go like, prove it. Well, I can't necessarily do it, but I understand the principles behind how it's done. And now that I understand the principles of how it's done, then in theory, it's more practice and practice and practice. And if one were to be able to achieve that fully, then your question, zero limitations, absolutely. You would have zero limitations here if that was fully infused and done physically. Because then you would be operated at the same frequency of that which your soul is, just physically here in the flesh.
And obviously I don't want to be hypothetical about this, but as we've seen that there's been this evolution of consciousness and that the great work is advancing, do you foresee a future where humanity is living in that way, where we can do these things, where we can awaken these dormant gifts within us? And how would that change how we live our lives?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I'm like I said, I'm careful with how I say certain things to not, but absolutely. It's, that's what I wanted to say to you before in the beginning without going on that long, giving context to it. It's 100% possible to do here. In the future, will that become possible? Absolutely, man. It's just a process of understanding and practice. And the thing is, some people are already doing this, but they are not public like myself. In certain tribes, the lost tribes, places that I've targeted, beings that I've seen that are physically present here, they do this. In Africa, there's tribes of people levitating already, and then you never hear them again. Not necessarily because they've been taken out, but because they choose not to be in the spotlight of things, because it's meant to be sacred. But all these things are possible. Even the other day in a which possibly will come out shortly, when we're doing a telepathy practice inside of a group setting, an individual is having trouble of identifying where we were targeting what we were saying, and I said, okay, I'm connected with your energy now. Let me tune into it. And because she was confusing the feeling from she was thinking too much, and she was confusing how to do it properly. I said, you got to feel into it. So right now I feel you shifting from thinking to feeling, thinking to feeling. So I'm going to tap into your field, and I'm going to tell you when to pick it when I feel that you are actually thinking it in your head. And she got it wrong like 3 times in a row. And then automatically I said, all right, you have it in your mind, pick it now. And then bam. So even that's already here. Telepathy, that's already done with the telepathy tapes too, but it's already, all these things are here and they're just going to continue. Not based off some solar flash or solar event. They're just going to continue when people practice it and actually apply it and do it.
I love that you talked about that transition of thinking to feeling. And when we were talking about this manifestation of, for example, the apple, you said that a person is able to get into this refined thought form where the thought form actually becomes a form. And I guess the question there is back to the feeling. How much is the feeling involved in that creation, that manifestation, rather than just refining a thought form and over again and just, I can sense people going into like, oh, I just need to think it so clearly in my mind that I'm going to see an apple, So how would you clarify that?
I mean, again, I could clarify it for you, but again, I cannot demonstrate that here for you. But right. So it's going to be
we'll get there.
So it's going to be like I could clarify telepathy for you because I've done it, but to clarify it to the best of my ability here for people to understand it better is, yes, the higher the feeling of it, then the more likelihood for it to occur, because even through direct experience out of the body with thought forms being physical, the higher the feeling was for that thought form, the more love, the more energy in it, the more physical it was, the more solidified that was. So yeah, it wasn't constantly thinking about it. It was feeling of it. I find even when I'm out of my body, certain things that I see within my field, the most solidified things of my thoughts are the things that I actually put the most energy into through feeling it. So, yeah, I don't have that's the answer that I have for now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
You've talked about reset events and that every so often humanity goes through, in biblical texts, they might call it the fall or the flood or things like that. And I'm wondering, because it almost seems like humanity reaches this advanced state of consciousness. We could even go back to things like Atlantis that people have targeted, have remembered, have seen. And then we go through these reset events. What do you feel is the deeper purpose of having these events to, in a sense, reset what we have been creating up until that point?
Well, all right. Based off my experience of seeing it, targeting that part of history, that specific time event was part of, and I don't really want to go into a lot of this, not because I don't have the details around it, just because I want to keep this interview more of just the what people could do now. Mm-hmm. But that point in time is the time that everything was here. The knowledge, everything was here. All the races, all of the heavens, everything was here. And you could say, due to that reset, the flood, the crack within the dome, everything of that manner, Milky Way. So that event occurred due to just consciousness of a disagreement. And I'll just keep it super short and super simple, which then with all the advanced technology, the advanced understanding of who we are, you could say that turned into the Great War, the mud flood, what people talk about, the Great Flood, Noah's Ark, all of the giant chopped down trees that were once here. So when a lot of people think of the giant mountains, also known as mesas or mesas, if you type that in, you'll see what I'm talking about. So those giant mountains, a lot of those were just major, large trees. And because they were so large, we didn't actually have the oceans that we have today They weren't the great deeps of the oceans that we have today. And therefore, a lot of the landmass was still present in here. Even the ice, Antarctica, all that ice, that was not ice before. That was lush. This whole place was a temperate climate, one climate, and that was because there was more of a water canopy and more carbon in the atmosphere. It's funny that they say now carbon's the issue, but all that was to help with the whole water canopy in a temperate climate, a one climate all around. So you had the giant trees here at that time. You had everything, and all this was, devastated at that time. And we're actually still living in the aftermath of it. We're still walking on the giants. We're still walking on some of the ancient beings that are that were told to be fairy tales, like the dragons, etc. Well, we're all just walking on them now. So, now I'll just keep that very, very short because I don't want to really talk about that much in this one. Yeah.
I love to bring it back to judgment, and we were talking about earlier. And because the focus of this is how to help people actually do something with this information, I'd love to know what has been the greatest judgment that you've released in your life that has liberated your soul the most.
Greatest judgment. Should be a simple question, shouldn't it? That's a good question, Emilio.
I love that you're actually thinking it through and feeling into it. So I appreciate that.
I would say the greatest judgment is the lack that I placed on myself is the not feeling as if I've done enough. I would honestly say that and I really thought that through because I could go into what sounds correct of like, the love that I've withheld. And you could say that's it as well, but it's also feeling like I haven't done enough with the knowledge that I have to help as many people as I can. So, and through doing that exercise too of nothing matters, that's also another big thing that I've carried. So, yeah, okay.
Well, I've definitely experienced the same exact one that you're talking about.
Yeah, because once I leave here, the only thing I'm going to be thinking to myself is, one, have I neglected certain individuals? Have I withheld love from certain people? Have I withheld love from myself and others? And then, have I done enough? It's those. And so it's, yeah.
How do we constitute what is enough for every individual?
So that's also a good follow-up question. And that comes down to how you do that. And because then it goes to what I just said, it goes down to the individual, the honesty of you, of what you know that you could have done. And did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I believe that answers the question, and it does that answer it?
Sure.
I believe it does.
For sure. It opens quite a portal, because I was having conversation with some friends, and someone asked me, like, what do I do if I don't feel worthy? And worthiness is, I think, very attached to feeling that we've done enoughness. And I genuinely did not have a response. I was like, how do you become worthy? I'm like, well, I told him you are, like, inherently what we
Yes.
talked about, like the soul is that. But what do you do? I'm like, I don't know if there's a doing behind that. I don't know if there's anything that you've stumbled upon in your personal investigation and journey.
No, no, it's not. It's not it's not even what I said. It's not like I don't feel worthy or anything. It's not that, because you're already worthy enough. And you can say some people may feel that, but yeah, if everybody's worthy of, and that could be, yeah, if everybody's worthy of. Because to not be worthy of would mean that you are lesser than, and that's not true. So
That's a judgment.
absolutely. You're not worthy because you did this, so therefore you're not worthy enough for it, and that's not true. Everybody's worthy of. No one's yep.
Darius, what was the soul before there was a construct like the one that we're living in right now? Before it was created,
Okay.
even.
What was a soul before we were experiencing this creation of this construct?
Yeah.
Okay. You were obviously your personality was slightly different, but you were the same consciousness of what you are now. So yeah, you were the same. It's not necessarily the same, because, like I said, your experience has changed, but you're the same spark of consciousness from the very beginning to what you are now. So it's nothing has necessarily changed in that aspect of who you are, of the essence of you has not changed. It's just the experience of you have changed. The experience of your essence has changed. That's it. So it's not really. Good.
Go ahead.
No. Finish what you're gonna say. Yeah.
I was just wondering, because does then the experience of this earthly realm construct, that is the only reason it was created, was to expand the experience for the soul, or was there something even deeper than that?
Okay, I get what you're trying to ask now. I get the feeling of it.
It's hard to put these questions into words. I'm like getting them from like an energy form, and then trying to translate it into words.
Yeah, I gotcha. I understand what you're trying to, the core of it, the essence of it. So through what I've seen is that this was actually, I won't go into that. I'll just say this. I'll just say the core of what you're looking for, the core of that question and the core truth of it. I could say many things of the creation of and blah, 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 blah. But the core of it is this. If you wanted to understand yourself more than you could ever understand yourself, ever, wouldn't you have to experience the opposite of what it's not to be yourself? And that's from the core of what you're saying, from the core of the truth of it, the direct path, the most direct path possible to answer that is that. Without going to the creation of this and what I've already stated, but would there be any other way to truly understand yourself more than you've ever understood yourself before through not that process? And in other words for it is what people may not like to hear, but it's the core of it. If you are an all-loving being, all-loving, it's the only thing that you've ever known. It's the only thing from the beginning of everything. It's the only thing that you've ever experienced. To truly even understand it more, greater than you've ever experienced love before, wouldn't the best thing to do is to experience a slight version of what it's not, what is not love? And that
the contrast.
I mean, when's the best time to look at the stars? When it's not in the brightest, not when the sun's out, it's in the dark.
Ooh,
So
that goes into some interesting territory, because there's a quote of yours that says, the closer you get to the truth of things, the bigger the shadow is going to become. Therefore, you will start to see all the distortion and the things that you are not. Expand on that for us a little bit, please.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because here, right now, we are experiencing what I've just said. You asked me earlier in this interview, Darius, well, can we achieve the no limitations? And I said, well, yes, we can, but we're not experiencing it here in the physical flesh. So the closer you get to the source of the truth of all things, if one drives to achieve that and see something that makes sense of everything, then the closer you get to that, then you are going to see all of the distortions, all of the shadows, all of what you're not. So the closer you get to love, you'll be able to even see the biggest shadows of what love is not. The closer you get to the source of the light of all things, love of all things, you'll see all of the pain, suffering, fear, anger, hate, all of what love is not. So that's the shadow. The closer you get to the truth, that shadow, you will see all of it, of what you are not, what love is not. Because that's the light, that's the truth. The truth of all things is love. In essence, it is. Yeah. And pain would be the biggest shadow of it.
Pain.
Suffering, pain would be the biggest shadow of love.
I love the analogy you use there. Like if we want to go out and see the brightest star of the night, we have to go to the darkest part of humanity, or the darkest part of any city where there's absolutely no street lights, and be able to see the star, because I can't see stars here in Bogota. Like I look up, it's like pitch black, because there's already so much illuminated. And if we were to have a blackout, which I actually experienced one in Spain recently, the one that lasted for about a day, so much light came through for people. Like I would go out on the street and people were dancing, people were playing, celebrating, laughing. And it was like, well, there's no light, you know? And that's such a great analogy there.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the core of it, man. That's the core of what you're asking, and the core truth. I don't want to get into much of the nuances of it, but like I said, the essence of it is that. And people could place every which way they want to on that, every definition or story they want, but that's the core of it, the essence of it, essentially.
How do you discern what is a distortion when you come across one?
So okay. It's simply this. Love. So things outside of acting outside of love is the you could say a distortion of. So, if someone is in a lot of pain, which, I've experienced pain myself, but if someone's in a lot of pain, then you could say that's a massive distortion of the true essence of love. Because love should be able to restore all things and take you out of pain. And if love can't do that, then it's not the true essence and true source of all things. So all acts outside of love to put this in the spiritual community and also religious community, all acts done outside of love are also in the spiritual, new age, spirit, whatever, it's distortions of. All acts done outside of love is also the sin of, even on yourself. The moment you step out of that, then you experience what we're experiencing now, the opposite of who we are. The pain, the suffering, the hate, etc. All distortions of who you are. When you go back into nothing, you drop all mask. Who are you? You'll find even that is love. So, yeah.
That's the beauty there of the construct, is that if we want to truly realize and know ourselves, then we have to experience the opposite. And there's no better way to experience that in a physical, the most densest aspect of reality, because that's when you can truly feel things to the largest degree and extreme. It's a realm of extremes as well.
Yeah, and the thing is too, Emilio, this is why when people wait too much and they wait on the collective to do something, the thing is, people vastly, they forget the amount of power that they have within themselves. Your body, the words that I'm using to speaking, it is of a frequency, and I'm an acoustic machine, a frequency, no different from when you listen to a certain music, let's just say heavy metal versus piano, love music. It changes your frequency within you. So am I not of that same thing and have that same ability to do that? So when you step into that state, to the greatest ability that you can, the highest ability that you can, and strive for it, then the moment you walk into someone's presence, the moment you walk into an atmosphere of people, you are of that piano music, able to heal, shift, change people. And the more people understand that and they strive for that, then them waiting on the collective of this and that and all that, that's essentially nonsense, then they individually become the highest versions of themselves, striving towards that. And just their presence alone, when they speak, it changes like music people that are not of that yet. It's like someone walking into your house and you have this music playing and they're not in that frequency. They had a bad day. They're stressed out. The moment they walk into your house and you're playing that music, does it not change them? So then if you strive to be that very thing and constantly hold that frequency, does that not change people too? People are searching or waiting for something to happen, but this is going to sound corny, man. It's like, we're the change that we're waiting for in the world. Everybody heard it, has heard that statement. But yet, even when people hear that statement, they choose not to for whatever reasons, but they choose not to, and they choose to go on to things that comfort them instead. And that's why I said to you in the beginning of this, sometimes truth is not always comforting. So, yeah, the biggest change here is individuals stepping into that, becoming that energy here to the best of their ability is what changes everything. The reason why the systems are the way they are now is not because of yes, bad people, bad actors, etc. But it's also because of the support of the people too that allow it to be so. We are of the many, they are of the few. So when people see wrongdoings and yet choose to do nothing, then you become the supporter of those wrongdoings. Choosing not to stand is in support of those wrongdoings once you see it. And so we're living here right now in a scenario where people are, one, confused, don't know what to do, but then see all of the things that have been done but still choose to do nothing. It's like the thing with you. I've guaranteed you've seen it, Emilio, or probably even interviewed some people. They say they're this, they say they're that. They try to act spiritual or do all these things, but they're not. They're only that for the 5 minutes. It's a 5-minute show. Let me put on the whatever, but they're not striving for that at a 24/7 state to be that. Religiously, people say, I don't support the evil or Satan and stuff like that. They go to church on a Sunday, but that's the only time they actually participate their energy in that of good. But if people did that all the time and stayed in that energy of love, then that's the event that everybody's waiting for. And I can't see how people don't see that.
Yeah, it immediately moves us away from waiting, and the more also I've received different teachings and different perceptions of the truth, I've received some that are like saying that this ascension process of humanity is inevitable, and
yeah, it is.
For a lot of people, if you hear the inevitability, but take yourself out of that inevitability, like, okay, so I'll just swim with the wave, you don't become the wave. And what you're saying is we're here to become that wave of the transition, because we're not here to wait for anyone else to do it. So this is such a core teaching that I'd love to, if there's anything else you want to add to that as well, I just feel it's so important.
Well, it's essentially the essence of it is there, like the honesty of what it's already there. It's already spoken. I mean, I could elaborate on it, you could elaborate on it, but what really is more to elaborate on, like it's just that. And this is why you find when it's once you get to the bottom of something, I could say, we need to spin this and do a chakra dance or what have you and confuse the whole issue. Mm-hmm. But the truth, the direct truth of that is, if people stand and they do exactly what you said, what I said, and they just do to the best of their ability and staying in that state, that's the change. And there's nothing else magical you have to do other than that.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
A mic drop is a mic drop. A mic drop is a mic drop. That's it. For a few minutes, and also you've been talking a lot about these targeting practices that you've been embarking on in your own explorations, and I'd love to know if there's any specific targeting places that you've targeted that you feel have uncovered a lot of beautiful mysteries and teachings for us at this moment in time, and that can tie into maybe some of those topics of self-sovereignty that we've talked about.
Well, like I said, currently right now I'm trying to target more things on the physical electromagnetic field of the body. So this is all things bringing certain abilities here the natural abilities that we all have here and doing those. So those are things that I'm really trying to get a lot of information on. And I don't, based off everything that I've already shared with you too, I don't think I could elaborate on any more without it turning into just a rant and instead of just bam, bam. But there is something this is probably going off target, but something that I've seen recently, or not recently, a long time ago, and also recently too, with targeting stuff with the Halls of Amenti. So they've when people are looking into the tablets there, trying to find the tablets and the scrolls, or even let's just say some of the stones that have things written inside of them. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that there's actually information stored inside of those things, and it's done through light in imprinting information in there. So there was a recent I've started to look up how to make sense of this and explain it better to people. There was a study done. It's something about a 5D quartz, I believe it is, that holds over 360 terabytes of information. And it's all based on like this light thing. People could pull it up. You probably have heard of this before. Yeah. Not that study in particular, but I know that in ancient times, like they would store information in these little glyphs, and maybe it's crystals as well. But like in a sense, like you could store all these amounts of information in just a tiny little fractal.
Yeah. So that's essentially like all of the information that people are searching for related to that, what I've seen out of body going into the Halls of Amenti, when I would touch a tablet or a book and all the information that would come within me. I was like, okay, well, yeah, all the information's coming within me. I shared that before, but how is that actually possible? So, and that's where I started to look into the study and stuff to see, okay, well, that makes sense, because right now they could actually physically take that, actually take the information inside those tablets physically and actually take it off and actually put it on a computer to view it through that study as well, through putting information on a quartz. Here, I'll pull it up real quick. Give me a sec. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna read off from this. So it's actually it's called the 5D optical storage quartz. And it's the University of it's from the University of South something. But when people look that up, they put it in Google, they'll see it. It's a 12 centimeter disc that comes to a total of 360 terabytes, and the lifespan is over 13 billion years.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's just science. That's what's done now. That's what could be done now. And so through targeting even the Halls of Amenti, how certain things are stored in the soul, how I get access information, but physically we get access that now is what I'm saying. And I want this podcast to be, this interview to be about now things. But so all of everything that I've seen in the Halls of Amenti, all the information from the living gold, from certain bodies, the text of how to awaken dormant abilities within the physical body, if we were to use the same type of instruments that they just used in that scientific experiments to extract the data that's inside of these tablets, and inside the walls themselves, you will find that there are terabytes, trillions and trillions and trillions of terabytes of information imprinted within the very walls themselves that could be accessed now.
And it feels like this information, and I love that, and it's not meant to, or whoever put these tablets there or created them, whatever it was, they weren't meant to be read as books. It seems like they're meant to be transfers of information. Like you said, you put your hand on top of it and you receive the download of the information. With the recent discovery that they had in Giza Plateau, with the pillars going down into hundreds of feet down below, is that where you've targeted the Halls of Amenti?
Yeah. And that's been years ago. Years ago, I've seen those tunnels, and you'll hear me say probably in our interview, the first one that we did. I said in the Halls of Amenti, you go down, there's 3 halls. The middle one's the longest and deepest. And as you walk down these halls, you go far, far down, then you access this circular room, and all these different halls have all these different passageways where you access certain information. Like I've stated that publicly, and now it's the same technology they use to map the oceans. Now they're mapping the pyramids, and they're seeing those same things. So, that just gives me more of the things that I've seen out of body, and also more proof and validity to what I'm saying. That if we were to physically go down there, that you would actually see the exact same things that I've seen out of my body. And I'm actually even more confident, more than ever, that you would actually even see the beings that I've come in contact with down there too, as well.
They're just chilling.
Well, not necessarily chilling, because a lot of these entities, races, are actually still here. Some of them have never left, and this is why the declassification of some of the races through the governments and stuff. So a lot of these beings are still here. They've been here for a very long time, and some of them are even in the physical body right now, too, through the technology that they have and understanding of who they are. So, yeah.
What's their contract with Earth, or with the development of this construct?
I wouldn't necessarily say a contract. It's more of
a purpose, or I think a better word would have been. But I feel like you feel what I'm saying. Yeah. The purpose of it.
Yeah. Give me a second. I don't know why that keeps on going down. All right. Yeah. I mean, the purpose of it. I don't know if some of these beings have been guiding other people. Some of these beings have been waiting, and some of them have also been participating in. And that's I'll just keep the slate clean just there. But the races of beings, if you were to go deep down inside of, like I said, based off what I've seen, even the seeds, for instance, the giant trees, they once, all trees have seeds to reproduce themselves. Some of the original seeds for the giant trees that were once here, that were chopped down, are actually down there, those seeds. Deep down there. Even that's when I was showing as well some of the through some of the pyramids too, and I won't go too much into this, but deep down in the ocean there was a certain seaweed that they used to eat as well, that contained all the minerals for the human body. Actually, and it's still physically here too. And then I've currently came across the sea moss, which is, you could say, not that version of it, but it is a slight version of it too. Sea moss, the body has over 102 minerals that the body needs. Sea moss contains over 92 of those minerals.
We could live off that, essentially.
Well, in essence, so the body doesn't need so much food. So recently, I've done a lot of fasts in the past, and recently I've been doing, I've done 3-day fasts. Some of the things I've been doing recently are just eating once every other day, once every 2 days, taking sea moss, stuff like that. Because the moment you stop eating so much and stop eating, you actually turn on a lot of the growth hormone, the stem cells, stuff like that actually repair the body, anti-aging. And you actually turn on some immortal genes within you. We actually have immortal genes that are scientifically within the physical body. So we have those. So the body is actually immortal if those genes are turned on. It could live forever. This is why Methuselah lived over 1,000 years old. Mm-hmm. Biblically, beings
the kings list in Sumeria, they would live tens of thousands of years, but maybe that was a different race, perhaps.
No, but that's the thing too. So when we look at ourselves now as something lesser than, but we are not. We view the bodies as something lesser than, but it's not at all. Just because these are different races, we are not lesser than. And this is what some people misunderstand too, because they think that they hold more knowledge, but you have a soul within you that could leave this place and access that information. They are no greater or grander than you. And the bodies have the ability to even live to those biblical ages now. That's why there's such an attack on the physical body. Why do you think there's so much injections in the physical body to try to change the DNA of the expressing itself in a certain way? Why do they call this DNA junk? Why do they put so much, you look at the food labels, it's pretty much, the amount of labels that they have in all this food, they're doping you up. It's like rat poisoning, essentially. So your body constantly is focusing on constantly getting rid of these toxins from the water that you drink. If you're on town water, from all the stuff that they pump in it, estrogen, from birth control, from poisoning, fluoride, all these things are pumped into the water that people drink. And so there's such an onslaught on the physical body to constantly be in a detox protocol. And so a lot of people are in 24/7 detox mode. And because they're in 24/7 detox mode, the body never has a chance to really just go into repair in immortal gene type scenario, because it's constantly detoxing. We could live scientifically, for people to understand this. We could go 30 days, 40 days without food. And even longer. It's been studied. Scientifically, we could do that. So why is it when you don't eat for 12 hours, you start shaking, or you feel, isn't that a withdrawal effect? Isn't that no different from being
an addiction?
Someone coming off heroin, someone that is coming off alcohol abuse. It's the same thing. Same thing. So, the bodies have the ability to live to biblical ages. Absolutely.
Water is a little bit different, though. How do you approach water rather than what we talked about with food?
Well, people are even drinking water wrong too, believe it or not. Water is a solvent. So what is a solvent? Solvent's bad for you. Well, if you look at a solvent, and they'll say water is a good thing in terms of water is a good solvent. And yeah, it is. But water is a solvent, and it strips. So when you go drink too much water, all you're doing is just stripping those minerals from the body. So your body the physical body is an electromagnetic, acoustic, saltwater battery, essentially. So if you have a saltwater battery physically that you make, and then you just add water with no salt in it, no sodium, no nothing, then the battery won't work. You put your hands together like this, you put your feet on the ground, you could actually measure the electromagnetic field that you are generating from there, because you're actually a battery, you're a circuit. So when people drink too much just plain water, it's acting as a solvent. It's stripping all of the electromagnetic field components out. It's stripping the body from that. This is why adding salt, sodium, what they say don't add salt, don't eat too much salt, but the good salt, this is why it's good for you, because it's actually helping your body as a saltwater battery that it is. And none of this is medical advice, by the way. Someone try to sue me or whatever. But okay.
Yeah, and we talked about the practicality of this episode, and I think this talking about the body is a perfect way to just really bring everything together, because the last thing I wanted to ask you with regards to this is, how is keeping our body in an optimal state closely tied to accessing more of our soul and accessing greater levels of love.
Okay. So it doesn't matter the health of the body to access that, because for me to tell you that it does, and you need to do this, you need to cleanse this and do that to access these higher states, is coming from a great misunderstanding that you already have the ability to do that now. Your soul does. So the body, it doesn't matter what happens to this body. It doesn't matter if you are the unhealthiest person in the world. It doesn't matter what happens to your body. Your soul is an untouchable and can access this information regardless. But when you clean the body, you are cleaning the circuit, the acoustic machine, the electromagnetic field. You start cleaning these things, then access to do things physically becomes easier. Physically. Just the motor's running cleaner. But you could be in the worst condition ever and still access this information. So the limitation of the body, me putting a limitation there, is not true. And if I were to do that, then I would be saying something that's 100% not true at all. But if you could clean the body, it becomes easier while you're here to do things, increase the electromagnetic field, etc. Just makes it much more smoother. But you are not limited by the physical body of itself to access, leave the body, etc. Does that make sense?
100%. Thank you for clarifying that. And Darius, I could continue for hours talking to you, brother. We do end every show with a segment called the Final Trio, as we did the first time. But before that, where would you send people to connect with you, with the work, the teachings that you're putting out, and your community in general?
Just read the mission. That's it. And if people don't align with that mission statement, then they don't align with it. And other than that, I would just end up just searching up my name, looking up the other interviews, looking up the testimonies, and seeing other people. That's it. That's pretty much it.
Love it. For the first, these questions are obviously personalized to each guest. So the first one that I had for you is, what determines the ones who are ready to fully participate in the great work and those who are not?
Those really, okay. Participating in it would be aligning yourself with love. That's it. So the reason why the mission statement is there is to, if someone's coming at it in a way where they're doing it in a way where, okay, I could learn how to leave my body, and I could learn how to target real-time things here, but I'm going to do it in a way that I target an individual for the benefit of me and the suffering of them. And that's why it's to align the individual to the heart again. Because a lot of these things, you could say, can be used for other things. And they have been. This is why the CIA pumps millions and millions, if not billions of dollars into remote viewing.
I just had a full night with Joe McGonigal. He's remote viewer number 1 in that experiment that they did. That's a whole nother story. We'll probably get into it another day.
Yeah. But it's to align people to love and to the other side. That's the point of the mission. Because it's, like I just said, when you step into this and you start trying to do things out of integrity in the benefit of you and the suffering for others, then that's out of alignment. And yeah, that's basically it.
Beautiful. You said that this may be your last lifetime in the earth realm. What do you feel you will cherish the most about your experiences here?
Maybe. No, it's an absolute. It is.
It's an absolute. Okay,
maybe.
I didn't want to assume.
Yeah.
I didn't want to assume.
No. Yeah, I've known that since the beginning. This is my last time here. Last time that I've will be here ever. The only other time I've been here was back in the Egypt time when the pyramids were here. That's why I think you've heard me say that before. But I was only that's the time that I was here in that whole point. And when coming in here, I knew when coming in here, and also my first memory, even as a child, this is my last time here. It's just an absolute knowing. You know, I'm saying that wrong. There's no need to come back when the message is already here, when it's already done. It would be no point. All right.
So what would you cherish the most about the experiences that you had here?
Personally, I would cherish the personal things that I've had done and experienced for myself. But then also the people that I've helped change, and then them helping change others. But that's it, man. Really,
yeah, it's simple.
Yeah, there's not. You know, at the end of this, when I'm on the other side permanently, you know, I'll be experiencing my own will and my own heaven, and same with everybody else. So, you know, I'm just here to fulfill this. That's it. Just here to fulfill this. And when I leave, the only thing I'll be looking back on, have I achieved it? Have I loved others? Did I do enough to do it? Pretty much. That's it.
If this was your final teaching within the construct, what would you leave behind for the souls who are now awakening into the great work?
Two things. Yeah, two things. The first one would be that pretty much do everything in love. Everything in love. The second thing would be to ask themselves a personal question. It could be the nothing thing, that practice that we did. Or it could be this: show me with no limits, borders, boundaries, or limitations. And so when you see yourself in that way, then you'll see, okay, well, that's who I am. And you start doing things in love, then you realize you have the very power of all creation behind you. You are of that nature, so is everybody else. Now start doing things in love. Help other people stand. That's pretty much it.
Darius J. Wright, it's a joy to weave together with you, brother. This was such a initiation of a conversation, I felt, and I know it will continue to do that great work for many people and let it move within them. If they need to come back to this, they're always welcome to. There's a lot in here, so thank you so much for being willing to put everything forward, no holding anything back, and I hope to do this many, many more times. I actually don't hope, I know we will do this many more times. So thank you, brother.
Yeah. No, most definitely. Thank you. Amber's done a rice experiment now, you know, and this is another testimony. Amber's done a rice experiment to show the power of your words and what they can actually do. She's done it for months now. I think it's more than 3 months, like 4 or 5 months. She's done a rice experiment where she said, "I love you" to one jar and "I hate you" to the other jar. You know the hate jar is still moldy, but the love jar doesn't have a bit of mold on it. After 5 months of speaking, I love you. And because that's the power of your words. And if you could sustain water for that long without no mold by the words that you speak, you have all the waters within you too. The fountain of youth is within your words. So, people have such an immense power within them that if they just realize that the words that they use, the frequency of who they really are, it would start to change things. Not waiting on a celestial event, not waiting on a cosmic thing, but the words that you use, the frequency that you are, can change you and everybody if they believe it. And that's the truth of it. How can rice not be moldy after 5 months? And I believe it's probably longer too. She's even started saying to the hate jar that I love you. And it's actually started to stop the mold from progressing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing those testimonies, brother.